Good afternoon. Welcome to the 22nd episode of Lunch with Lisa. I hope you're all still enjoying your working from home. We do have our work from home poll today, but first I'm going to ask that you look at today's poll, which starts today with how did you meet your current significant other? Isn't that sort of funny that we threw currents in there? But I digress. But is it a dating app? Is it through friends, school and work, bar, club, or other? And this is a really important question because over the past decade, the way we meet people and the way we form our relationships has completely changed. And I remember when people would say, "Oh, you're on a dating app?" And I would be like, "Oh, well." And well, what do you know? I ended up meeting my significant other on a dating app where I have our pictures behind me. And I'm so thrilled to have Malgosia Green with us today. She's the CEO of Plenty of Fish. And Plenty of Fish is one of the largest dating apps in the world. And let's read about you here. You are leading the evolution of one of the largest dating apps. And you are driven by your tech-forward vision and the company's mission to alleviate the pressures of dating, increase authenticity, and enhance member experience. And you've been featured in, looks like everything, Forbes and Canadian Business Magazine's 20 Young Women in Power, Elle Canada, Toronto Life. You're coming to us from, is it Vancouver today?
Yes, it's morning here. So I haven't even had breakfast because I'm not a breakfast person.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And I think this is going to be a fun one. Like I said, I'm familiar with a bunch of let's clarify. I have not been very familiar in the past number of years with the dating apps, but once upon a time, I was very familiar with them and thought they were really beneficial. And if you could tell us about video dating and how you started with thinking about whether this was a good thing to do. Are there other areas where people video date that they don't hear? Like, I would just love to hear your story about the video dating.
Sure. So I think we've always sort of tiptoed around video dating because on the one hand, people always say that they want to have a video date before they meet somebody, but actually going on video and doing that is really awkward. There's something about being on video that makes you very self-conscious. People just don't look and act themselves on video. It's just not the most natural thing. It takes a while to get used to it. And I think a lot of us are now getting used to it, having been working from home. So people would tell us they want video, but then when we actually would launch features and test them, no one wants to use them. So we, last summer, started working on bringing in live video, but more in the form of a one-to-many live streaming. Adding it to the dating experience so that people could really start to connect with one another from communities around various interests. And so this is something that we started working on and launched in a very small test at the end of last year. And we're still testing and refining the product when all of this COVID pandemic hit. And at that point, we quickly realized that this had a really meaningful, useful place in our society right now. So if people were stuck at home, especially people who are single, are not, quarantining with a big family, most likely they're at home alone. So people were particularly lonely. And this live streaming feature that we added and had been testing only in a couple states in the US, in Florida and Texas, was showing a real promise. And so we decided to just roll it out as quickly as we could. And so in a matter of a week and a little bit, we rolled it out across the United States. And the uptake has been tremendous. I'm very, very excited with sort of the feedback we've been getting and sort of the usage coming out of the feature. And what it is that anybody who's a Plenty of Fish user is able to stream from home, and anyone can join and sort of chat with that person. And a lot of people just talk about their lives and the struggles that they're going through and challenges they have or fun things that they're working on or their hobbies or whatever it may be. And it becomes sort of like a regular part of their life. Something, rather than having a TV in the background, you watch a live stream of someone that you connect with, and people meet one another through, other live streams that they like and they follow and so forth.
I was reading, I read a bunch of articles about video dating before we talked today. And some people were saying they liked the fact that they could see the background of the person's home. It said it gave me a sense for what they were like, if it was really messy behind them or if it looked really neat and organized. And I thought that was interesting. Something you don't generally see is somebody's house right out of the gate, right? So they were talking about that. And then they were talking about the fact that people were having more meaningful and authentic discussions on video right now, that they were really connecting with people, or the people they were connecting with, they were creating this friendship during this time where maybe due to online dating or not, but it's not been about creating this friendship as much first as this sort of high of dating. And so I'm wondering what you've seen. Are people saying that the discussions are more authentic, or what are your thoughts on that?
People, now that they have no choice, and responsible adults are obviously distancing and not going out on dates, and people are switching to video dating in droves right now. And something that, like I mentioned in the beginning, was awkward and no one really wanted to do, everyone's forced to do, and they are getting used to it now. So this new medium is something that people are engaging with. We've all gotten used to having our business meetings over Zoom or whatever other technology you happen to be using. And same thing for dating. People are telling us that they're able to connect and form really close, sometimes friendships, almost like a family type relationship sometimes in some of the communities that we have. And then the one-on-one video dates, people have really learned to leverage the medium to its best. And yes, you do get to know someone really well, almost like going out on a real date. You might not get that physical chemistry fully, but it becomes more about getting to know someone and developing a bond and a friendship first.
I had a male friend of mine who said he loved the video dating because he felt like he could get a good sense of whether he would like someone or not without spending $100 on dinner. And so I don't know if that's any other feedback that you've heard, but people feel like they're saving a lot of money, that often you see the pictures on the app, and we all know that the pictures don't always reflect the person that you meet when you walk in. And of course, their demeanor and their mannerisms, the second you walk in, you often know whether you'll hit it off with someone or not. And that this video dating is allowing that filter of before you have to spend a lot of money going out. And so I don't know if you've heard anything on that.
Yeah. So we've long heard that the cost of dating is prohibitive. And, and a lot of our members, Plenty of Fish members, come from all backgrounds and walks of life, all the way from middle America to LA and New York, and we have people from PhDs all the way have not finished high school, and everywhere, going on a date and spending over $100 on a regular basis, which is the average cost of a date, and It obviously fluctuates depending where you are, is prohibitive, especially if you're doing it multiple times. And so people do find that the ability to have a video date and not spend all that money right up front is able to help them deal with that. And so video does really make dating more accessible, especially for people who find it financially difficult, but also people who find it difficult to leave their home. Like, not everyone can just drop everything and go out on a Thursday or Friday or Saturday night. A lot of people who are dating are parents and they have children at home. And so finding a babysitter adds cost and complication on top of everything. So this really does free up a large portion of the single population to date.
I would think so. I'm hoping that our attendees more can answer this poll, because we have some responses, but there's a lot more people that are watching. And I'd love to just have a few more people answer that before I go with it. Do you think that if you present yourself via online dating, it's translatable to business as well? How you present the background, etc. Well, Stephen, I think anytime you're on video, you're presenting yourself as, I almost think almost worse with dating. They're judging everything. Don't you think, Malgosia? What do you think? Do you think that how you?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And the background, though, I think if you show up with one of those fake backgrounds on online dating, people are going to wonder where you're hiding. It's like,
and you had told me that this was actually common in some other countries before then, like very common, right?
Yes. I think in China, Live streaming and has been a huge thing for many years. It's a massive industry, and dating around video and live streaming around video are really huge as well. So because a lot of people are leaving home and working in cities far away from their families, and in the evenings, again, because it's expensive to go out, or they just don't feel comfortable going out by themselves and may not have big networks of friends yet, they stay at home and live stream. And also there's a lot of stigma around, as a young woman, going out and dating. And so being at home and doing it via video is also, I think, a safer way to engage with people.
Do you happen to have any statistics on what is the average that somebody would normally be on the app? And I don't know if you have any because you had just started video before this started, and then how much time they're spending on it now. I mean, I'm thinking that if I was still single, I would be on this all the time.
Yeah, so we haven't shared specifics on how much that change has been, but we definitely have seen a big increase in engagement on the apps since we have launched the feature, but even from COVID in general. So overall, people are messaging more and spending more time talking to one another. And using the apps quite a bit more than before COVID hit. So that has been encouraging.
That's very, yeah, I think it's neat. I think this is one of the companies that is offering a truly great service during this time and able to do well. Cheryl asks the question, I think this is a really good question. And I think actually this is where, if you want to tell us a little bit about the difference between Plenty of Fish and some of the other apps, it's, the online dating for older gals. And, older is a very relative term. Having gotten divorced in my early 30s, it's always 60-ish. I mean, I think it's tough at any age, but Malgosia, what's the difference between Plenty of Fish and some of the others?
Sure. So I started at Plenty of Fish about 2 years ago. And one of the first things I really wanted to do is to understand what made Plenty of Fish different than other apps, and also where we as a company and as a brand wanted to lean into. And so speaking to our users throughout the United States and Canada, one of the things that we found is a lot of people found the other dating apps very high pressure. So if you weren't a certain demographic, in your 20s, if you didn't look a certain way, you weren't a professional, a lot of the other apps skew very coastal. So like New York, Boston, LA, Seattle, that whole corridor. Whereas Plenty of Fish was much more representative of the American population. And also, we had much better representation in all age groups. So we do skew a little bit more in the 35 plus. But people also told us that they found Plenty of Fish a lot less high pressure. The other apps were so high pressure to conform and look a certain way and be perfect and have that perfect career. Whereas Plenty of Fish, you can just kind of show up and be more authentic and be as you are, and you still got lots of dates and lots of attention. And so I thought this was a really wonderful insight and something that we've been leaning into and working to make even more so. So with one of the things we launched last fall, which got us a lot of praise and attention, was that we banned the use of face filters on the app. So a lot of people post photos of themselves for their dating profile, and they would put on the glamour filter or the bunny ears or the crown. And they think that it makes them look good, but the opposite sex is looking at this, or whoever they're trying to date with, and people find it as a turnoff. Like, you're hiding who your true self is. You're not comfortable with who you are. So we said, you know what? On Plenty of Fish, you have to be your authentic self. Nobody's perfect, and there really is a perfect person out for you. You just have to present who you are. And that person will find you, because we have so many users, so many members, so that it really is, if you are your authentic self, the right person will come along.
That's great. Cheryl, let us know if that answered your question or not. Stephen commented that there used to be a stigma that doesn't seem to be now. I don't think there is now, though people seem shocked that Bob and I met on an online app, but we did, and it worked. The one thing
I would say that I remember too, because I met my husband before dating apps were around. Like, I guess there was a few around, but I remember a friend confiding in me, like, you cannot tell anyone that he met his girlfriend on, I think back in the day it was JDate or something. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you'd use a dating app. But today, it is by far the #1 way people meet. Eclipses all other methods at this point. So in terms of first dates and relationships, most people meet online these days.
Yeah. The one thing that I would say, and Bob's watching, so he's going to be, at least, I can't believe you're going to say this publicly, but for those who know us, there's a long-standing joke about how our first date was not so great, and we went to dinner and we didn't hit it off, but we planned that we were going to dinner and we were about an hour from where we live, and he has a band and he was playing in his band after, and so I essentially was stuck, and he was stuck with me, except for that he was out playing with his band. Well, once we were out of that dinner date situation, and he was his authentic self playing, and I was my authentic self having some drinks with some other people that were there, we totally hit it off. It was like the second half of the night was entirely different than the original dinner. And I just always say to everybody that, when you do plan these dates, just like what you're saying about being your authentic self, do something you enjoy doing. Stephen Kenny just called me a groupie. Yes, I am. I'm a big groupie now. But I think that the more you can just be you, the more that you're going to attract the right person, because and try and do something you enjoy doing, because then you see that person in their space, right? And I just thought that's advice I always give to people now. Another question was about the speed dating. So there's speed video dating too. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, so we have a feature called Next Date within our video portion. And what it allows you to do is say you're looking for your next date, and people can come in and they show up on screen and you date each other and other people see it. And so they ask questions that you should ask each other, and they sort of give feedback as well. And then you decide by the end of this little period whether or not you want to sort of proceed and date. And at that point, you can have a one-on-one video without anybody else being there. But it's a really nice, safe way to meet people, because all of our video is moderated. So, we do make sure that there's no content that's inappropriate. There's no nudity, obviously any violence or anything like that allowed. We have hundreds of moderators looking at all of this content to make sure that it is a safe environment. And we obviously do our best to make sure that it is somewhere people feel really comfortable being. So yes, definitely video speed dating is really fun, and I think a great way to potentially meet someone.
That's a really interesting point that I didn't think of. So if I do, because somebody said to me, well, why wouldn't you just FaceTime with them or do a Zoom? And I said, well, because then you have to give your personal information to do that. Whereas if they're on your site and it's moderated, then it is a safe place. And I hadn't even thought of that. So there are people essentially watching now all of these videos. Is that how that works?
Yeah, there's technology in the background that automatically, using AI, like detects nudity and inappropriate content in that way. But in addition to that, some of those images are screened by human moderators. And also there's a very easy reporting function. So because there's multiple people in these rooms, anything inappropriate happens, people press the report button, and within a minute, somebody has looked at this content. And if they break guidelines, they do, depending on how severe the infraction, get kicked off, all the way to being completely banned.
Wow. I'm looking at the poll, and 36% of our attendees met through a dating app, 9% through friends, 27% through school or work, none at a bar or club, and 27% are other. And I'd love to know what those others are, if people are willing to share that in the chat. Let's see. There shouldn't be a difference for how you present yourself when you're any age. You might have different experiences at that point, but you should still present yourself with confidence and optimism at any age. Do you have any advice for people on the sites, and as they pick different sites? I think different dating apps have different reputations for different types of people. And I really liked that you said that you really promote an authentic self, right? And that you don't want fake pictures. Does that, I mean, I remember every guy having a picture of a fish they were holding on a boat,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's almost like you could do an SNL skit off of it, like the requisite picture with the fish on a boat. How big is your fish? Or the pictures in front of the cars. I'm like, okay. What would you say is the best advice you could give people when they're putting those pictures on that attracts people to other people?
I think uploading pictures where you can see your face and obviously what you look like, and you're clearly not trying to hide yourself, doing things that you enjoy, but without being too cliche. So on the women's flip side, it feels like there's a lot of women who do yoga poses. I'm like, I didn't know there's that many women in the world who do yoga outside in the mountains. So I think it is important, definitely no filters, and you want to look your best, but you don't want to post a picture from 10 years ago, because that person is going to eventually meet you if things go well, and they will realize that you don't actually look like this. So
Right.
Starting with, you might get in the first step if you're lying about something, but it's not going to get you very far, I think. And ultimately just opening up sort of what you think a person might be, the characteristics of a person that you might be happy with, because sometimes, especially when we start looking, we have such a narrow view of what we think will work for us. Like they have to have a certain race background. I will not date people of this race. That we get a lot of people who feel very strong like that, or they have to be a certain height, or they have to have a certain profession or a religion or whatever it might be. And really, I think it's good, especially if you're starting out dating, to open up a little bit more, because a lot of people end up being most happy with someone that is quite different than that perfect list that they would sort of have at the beginning.
I think we had joked about this, that I originally, I have this is the Plenty of Fish questionnaire right here. And I was looking at it earlier, and I used to be, back when I was single, I was very specific with what I was looking for. And I kept going out with people that were the same person. And then I entirely just opened it up, because I thought, well, in my previous relationship, we met at work. And so it wasn't at all about any of these things. I opened it up, and so many of the things that I'd originally checked off one thing, Bob is the opposite of. So, what did I know about what I was looking for, right? So I think, again, I like the idea of just sort of a wider net, I would say. I had a question about pictures, and we have 3 minutes left. This does go super fast. I did open up the How Are We Working From Home poll. So if anybody does have other questions, please put them on. But children, I used to be really turned off by people who had pictures of their children with them. What is the expectation with that? I mean, it's one thing, I guess, if you've sort of blurred their faces, but I felt like sometimes people were really using pictures of their kids as an asset. What's the standard for that?
So our community guidelines prohibit photos with minors. So we actually, we are extremely cognizant, around child safety and child exploitation. It's something we're very concerned about. So we never want to put children in a position, even if somebody feels like that's not their intention, that could lead to some sort of difficult situation. So we do prohibit minors in photos, and if you can say that you have children, and that's something that you might want, if you want to share a picture with your child, to do so a little bit later. It's not the first thing. By no means hide your children. So definitely you're a parent, but putting them on your dating profile, I usually would say no. That's not my preference. I think that's something that comes a little bit later in a relationship.
I do know that one of my girlfriends was very upset that her ex-husband had lots of pictures she'd found out on his dating profile of their children. And so I would always say to check with your ex, because if they're minors or they're,
definitely there's also that concern. Yes.
Yeah. Or kids that are teenagers. My kids have talked about that somebody says that they're on somebody else's profile picture. So it's just, I don't know. Anyway, we have 1 minute left. Does anybody, any advice to people wanting to set up a new date when you're setting it up? I guess would that again be being authentic pictures, trying out video. I mean, video is here to stay, don't you think? After this?
The longer the quarantine lasts and the longer people are forced to communicate via video, the more I think we're going to shift in our sort of acceptance of videos as a means of communication, which I think is a good thing. I think it's good to have a video date before you meet in real life. I think it's a great safety feature, but it also helps you sort of, like you said, get to know if there's real chemistry there, or can you carry a conversation. It is a little awkward at first, but it's awkward for everybody. And that's the thing that you have to sort of get over. It's not just you, everyone goes through the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, this has been great. Is there anything else that you want? So because we can't really meet in person, how long is it okay to chat with video? So we'll take this one last question. How long is an appropriate chat with somebody on a video?
The average chat that sort of we're seeing is 20 to 30 minutes. And so that's a little bit longer than you would expect. But it does take a little bit of time to sort of get over the initial, awkwardness and I think get going in a conversation.
Yeah, and I would think when asked how many times, well, it's going to be a lot of times right now.
Right now, it's all the time.
Oh, I love the idea. I wish that it was around when I was doing it, because it's a lot of time to take a whole night out. To me, this sounds like a Friday night could be stacked with several potential dates, and that could be way more efficient to do it this way. So, I wish I'd had this, but like I said, I'm a big fan of the dating apps, and I really appreciate that you joined us today and shared with us what you did with Plenty of Fish. And I hope that people who are out there and have friends who are single, maybe this is the time to try it out if you haven't before, and see if there might be people that you meet. And so again, thank you for coming on. Tomorrow, I want to introduce, we have Rosemary Powers, and she is the president of the Cristo Rey Boston High School. So this is the first time in the past 4.5 weeks that we've had somebody actually talking about what it's like to be in the school side of this. We've had people talking about having their kids at home and what it's like and how we're managing from home. Imagine running a school, and what is it like to be on the school side? The Cristo Rey is in the city, and they also have a work program that goes along with it. So Rosemary has been really navigating all sorts of complicated challenges, but I'm really excited about her being here tomorrow. We were talking this morning, and she was talking about how many of the children from Cristo Rey are going to just amazing schools, and how important the work is that our educators have, how important they are to us, and in this time in particular. So looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you everybody for jumping on. Thank you again, Malgosia, and everyone have a great day. Check in with your single friends. Make sure they're meeting people. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.